Hello, wonderful, amazing, fantastic geometry students. This is Ms. Youngblood here, bringing you today's video lesson, which is on session 1 for the week of May 25th through May 29th. So let's hop onto Google Classroom and see what we're going to be working with this week. So this week we're going to be focusing on trigonometric ratios, that's sine, cosine, and tangent. Might be familiar to some of you. And we're going to start with the first session, which is an intro to what trig ratios are. So if we click on Khan Academy, we'll see that we have these 3 assignments to knock out together. So let's see. Go to Khan Academy. It should take you straight to your profile. If it doesn't, make sure that you get signed in so that your activity can be logged and I can view your activity and give you your points. So the first thing we want to go through is hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. So this first article. So these 2 assignments are technically articles we're going to read through together, and then this is the actual assignment we have to do based off these articles. Okay, so if we look at this article, go to the lesson page, it is introducing us to the idea of the hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent side lengths. So we are already familiar with what the hypotenuse is. That is the longest side of the right triangle. It is also the side that is across from the right angle. So the side across from the right angle is called the hypotenuse. These other 2 sides of the right triangle are called the legs, and we can give those legs specific names depending on which angle we are focused on or referencing. So if our focus angle or our reference angle is angle A, the opposite side would be BC. That's because this leg is not touching this angle. It is across from that angle. So remember, this is hypotenuse. This side would be the opposite. And this side, AC, would be the adjacent. And that's because it is touching angle A, our reference or focus angle. So if we're focused on angle A, we know this would be the hypotenuse side, adjacent side, and opposite side. If we switch our focus or our reference to angle B, the hypotenuse stays the same, but the adjacent and opposite switch. Again, that's because our angle has switched. So if this is our reference angle, this side is now opposite from it, and this side is adjacent to it. So in the article, they just give us a few practice problems, and if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure we have the same problems. So you can just knock these out and get these right with me. So if angle G is our reference angle, which side is the adjacent side? The adjacent side would be MG, because it is the leg that is touching our angle. In this question, they ask if our reference angle is angle N, which side is the opposite side? So the opposite side would be ED, because it is the leg that is across from our reference angle. And lastly, they ask us, what is the hypotenuse of triangle SKY? So the hypotenuse is the side that is opposite from the right angle. So that would be this side here, KY. And we got them all right. And that is your first assignment. So make sure you knock that out just as I did. Let's go back to our learner home and do the second one in geometry. The next assignment in geometry is going to be trigonometric ratios and right triangles. It's another article, and it's just adding on to the idea of identifying the side lengths, the sides of the right triangle. So in the previous article, we already reviewed that hypotenuse is the side across from the right angle. We were introduced to the fact that we can name the legs of the right triangle special names depending on their position to angle A, or the reference angle. So our reference angle here is angle A. This side AC is adjacent because it's the leg that is touching that angle. This side BC is opposite because it's the leg that is across from angle A. So we have the adjacent, opposite, and hypotenuse sides. We use trigonometric ratios to kind of compare the side lengths of a right triangle. So we use ratios or fractions based on these trigonometric functions. So when you're focused on the sine, you are looking at the ratio of the opposite side and the hypotenuse sides. So we know these side lengths normally have numbers. So let's say this was 3 and this was 5. The sine of angle A would be 3 over 5. If you were doing the cosine, you're looking at the adjacent and hypotenuse side. So again, if this was 3 and 5 and this was 4, the cosine of angle A would be 4 over 5. The tangent of angle A is the opposite over adjacent. So I believe we said this was 4 and 3. So the tangent of angle A would be 4 over 3. So basically you would just plug in the numbers into the fraction to calculate the trigonometric ratio based on the angle. It sounds really confusing, but when you get the hang of it, you're literally just plugging in numbers for this first part. So an easy way to remember these complicated ratios is something called SOHCAHTOA. It's just something we use to remember these ratios because it can be kind of confusing if you don't remember what order they're supposed to go to. So means that the sine equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. The CA means that the cosine equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And the TOA means that the tangent equals the opposite over the adjacent. So again, it's just something we use to help us remember these ratios. Okay, so in this example, they ask us to find the sine of angle A. So if this is angle A is here. Our hypotenuse is obviously going to be this 5. Our opposite side is going to be 3 because it's the leg that is not touching angle A. And our adjacent side is going to be 4 because it's the leg that is touching angle A. So if they're asking for the sine, we go back up here. Sine was opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse would get us 3 over 5. Opposite over hypotenuse, 3 over 5. Here's a video here if you would like to view it for more examples to make sure you understand it. We're just going to go through these first. So for this triangle DEF, they ask us to find the cosine of angle F. So if this is our focus angle here, angle F, for cosine we're looking at adjacent and hypotenuse. So it's going to be 5 over 13. The sine, again, for angle F, is the opposite over the hypotenuse, so it's going to be 12 over 13. And the tangent for angle F is going to be the opposite over the adjacent, so it's 12 over 5. I know I'm going through this example kind of quickly, but when we get into the actual Khan Academy problem set, I'll go through it a little slower in a way that I think will help you understand it better. In the second triangle, we have triangle GHI. So the cosine of angle G is going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 8 over 17. The sine of G is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 15 over 17. Make sure you check them. And the tangent of angle G is going to be the opposite over the adjacent. So it will be 15 divided by 8. Okay, so in this challenge problem, they ask us to figure out which of these options equals A over C. So we're just going to go through them one by one and figure out which one does or does not equal A over C. Cosine of 20 degrees. Cosine of 20 is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so that would be B over C. So cosine of 20 degrees is not A over C. Sine of 20 degrees. The sine of 20 degrees is the opposite over the hypotenuse, so the sine of 20 is going to be A over C. Tangent of 20 degrees. The tangent of 20 degrees is going to be the opposite over the adjacent, so that's A over B, so it won't be C. Cosine of 70 degrees, so now we're focused on this angle. So again, I want to note, we were focused on the 20 because 20 was in the parentheses. Now that 70 is in the parentheses, this is going to be our focus or reference angle. So now if we're focused on this angle 70, for the cosine, our adjacent side is now A, and our hypotenuse is C. So the cosine of 70 is going to be A divided by C. The sine of 70, opposite over hypotenuse, so it would be b divided by c, so not that one. And the tangent of 70 is the opposite over the adjacent, so it would be b divided by a, which again is not equal a over c. So that's why these two answers would be correct. Okay, so that's the second article. So if we go back to our learner home, we can now knock out that first task, or last task. So make sure you're in geometry. So we're looking at trigonometric ratios in right triangles. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and redo this so that we can make sure you have all 4 problem sets. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and finished the problem set, so it would restart it for me. This is my first problem. We're given this right triangle. This is our reference angle. You could have called it angle B, but they're trying to get you used to Greek letters as well. So we could call this angle beta. This funny looking B is the Greek letter beta. So that's our focus angle. And then we have these side lengths 5, 13, and 12. They ask us to find the sine, and these are our 4 options. So what I'm going to do is copy this over to my sketch pad and work them all out. And then I'll just show you maybe on the last problem how you would select the answer. So this is our first problem from Khan Academy, and they were asking us to find the sine of beta, which was this angle right here, beta. So we want to start by labeling the sides of the triangle based on this reference or focus angle. So if this is our focus angle, we already know this is our hypotenuse. 13 is our hypotenuse. 12 is going to be our opposite side because it is across from beta. So this is our opposite side. And 5 is going to be our adjacent side because it's the leg that is touching beta. So this is our adjacent side. So we want to remember TOA. Because we're using sine, we're looking at this one. The S in so is for sine. So again, because we have sine, we're looking at this first one. The next letter is O. So our O is 12. And the next letter is H. Or H is 13. So the sine of beta is going to be 12 over 13. And like I said, you just click that on the multiple choice. So let's see what the next problem is. In this next problem, they ask us to find the cosine of beta. So we're looking for the cosine of our focus angle beta. So again, we want to label our triangle. The 13 is our hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. The 12 is our opposite because it's across from the focus angle or reference angle. And the 5 is our adjacent because it's touching the reference angle. So again, you want to think of TOA. So we're going to use the second one because it starts with the C for cosine. So the next letter is A, so we're going to put our A, which is 5, and then our H, which is 13. So the cosine of beta is going to be 5 over 13. In this next problem, we're asked to find the tangent of alpha. And again, I just want to show you where I'm getting that from. So you guys aren't like, where is she getting this tangent and stuff from? It's given in the problem. So they give you the triangle, and they ask you, they tell you what you're looking for, tan of alpha. So that's where I'm getting that from. So our reference angle is alpha. We want to label the sides of our triangle. The 29 is the hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. The 21 is the opposite because it's across from our reference angle. And the 20 is our adjacent because it's touching our reference angle. So again, we're going to use TOA. Because we're finding the tangent, we're looking at this part, TOA. The next letter is O for opposite, so we're going to put 21. And the last letter is A for adjacent, So the tangent of alpha is 21 over 20. This will be our last problem in this set. This right triangle. And we were asked to find the sine of alpha in this triangle. So we're looking for the sine of alpha. Okay. So start by labeling your triangle. This is H because it is across from the right angle. This is A because it is touching our reference angle alpha. And this is O because it is opposite our reference angle alpha. Remember? So you don't have to write this every time like I am, but it's just helpful for me to write it. SOHCAHTOA, we're going to use the first one because sine starts with S. The next letter is O, and our O was 12. Our O was 12. Next letter is H. Our H is 37. So the sine of alpha is 12 over 37. And if we switch back to our browser, we see that we would select D and we would be done. Okay. So we just completed that assignment, and those are the 3 assignments for this first session. So again, if you need more assistance outside of this video, please make sure you are reaching out. There's still time to come to office hours, class sessions next week during the SEL week. So remember, SEL weeks are kind of light. We just talk about growth mindset and college and career exploration. So you can pop in, do that with me real quick, and then we can go through whatever Khan Academy problems that you need help with. Again, please keep in mind that all assignments need to be completed by Monday, June 8th, 11:59. On Tuesday, June 9th, 12 o'clock a.m., I'm not taking anything else. So do not try to submit things late to me. I can see what time you submit things. If you need help with test corrections, you can also come to class sessions and office hours. Just reach out if you are in need of help. I'm trying to reach out to you guys as well, but as you know, there's one of me and a lot of you. So if you reach out to me, it's easier for me to respond to you as opposed to reaching out to you and waiting for you to respond. So if you need help, text, email, if you just want to talk. Make sure you're doing the Google Forms as well. I thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing or hearing from you. Bye.